to talk about the two time-lapse modes in the 77D and the differences between them and why you would use one over the other. So let's come over to my camera here. I am shooting out at a pond in Columbus, Indiana. And Indiana is all about covered bridges. So we've got our pond here, some nice moving water, we got our bridge, and we got our big sky with some nice fluffy clouds. So I've got my camera on right now. And if you see if I can get you on the screen. Sorry for the shadow there. But if we go into our menu, and you cannot do this while you're in the live view mode. So if I go into live view here, and then I open the menu, there will be no option for this. But switch out of live view, go into your menu, there we go. And you'll see interval timer on page 5 of your shooting menu. So you go up to interval timer, we're gonna enable. You're not gonna wanna hit go or okay quite yet. You'll see that if you push info or if you tap on the touch screen here, you can change the interval shooting and number of shots and all these things. So interval, I had this set to 1 second because I'm shooting just one shot right after the other. There's no gap in between, and I'll explain that in just a second. The number of shots, if you set this to 0, it'll actually be unlimited. So it'll just go until you stop it. So I'm gonna hit okay. And then from here, I would take my photo. What I'm gonna do for this interval photo time-lapse is use an ND filter. So this is an ND 1000 or 10-stop ND filter. If you look through that, you can tell that it's basically like a super dark pair of sunglasses. So I'm gonna install that on the lens. What that's gonna do is let me use a slower shutter speed. The reason that I wanna do that is because we've got this nice moving water. We've got these clouds that are slowly moving through the sky. And I want to give those a little bit of softness for the time lapse. So come back to our camera settings here. We've got the interval timer turned on. It's at a 1 second interval. So basically it's going to take a photo, then take another photo, and take another photo. And it's set to unlimited, so I could leave this until the battery dies, basically, or the memory card fills up. And I've already got this metered relatively close, but you can see I've got an 8-second shutter speed. So that's what 8 seconds is going to soften up all that water again and make it nice and smooth, and give the clouds a little bit of a soft look too. I'm shooting at f11 because I want everything in focus and I don't want to worry about things being blurry or any distortion, and that's kind of right in the middle of the range. And then the reason I'm shooting at ISO auto is I actually want to underexpose the image just a little bit, and that way if it gets brighter, the ISO can drop down to 100, and if it gets darker, it can shoot itself back up to compensate, and that way you don't get really dark parts of your time-lapse and really bright parts of your time-lapse. So if I just leave this here, you can see I've got my top LCD here ready to go, and I push that shutter button. Now the timer starts flashing, and that means that every 8 seconds, or every 1 second, it's going to take an 8-second photo, just one right after the other. And you can see that 999 means that I have roughly 1,000 shots left on the memory card, which is good because you can take quite a few photos in this time-lapse mode. But this LCD will turn off, and then this will go. So I will show you what that looks like after a few hundred shots. And now switching to our video mode, I want to show you how to do the time-lapse movie. So in video mode, and what you're going to find is there's some advantages and disadvantages to both. But again, in video mode, I go to time-lapse movie, click on that, disable, change that to enable, and then I set my interval at 3 seconds for this. That'll make sense in just a second. 3 seconds. You can set this number of shots to anything up to 9999. And then you can see at the bottom here, I actually have a count of how long it'll take to shoot the time-lapse. It'll be 1 hour and 39 minutes and 57 seconds. And then that complete video that the camera will pop right out, you don't have to do any editing or anything, will be 1 minute and 6 seconds long. So let's say that I want to do that. I'm okay with that. Let's go down to okay. And now this is enabled. I'm going to leave auto exposure to each frame because this, with the cloud cover and everything, it will get brighter and darker as the clouds move. And then LCD auto off, I'm going to leave that enabled because there's no reason to have that on during the shoot. Okay, so now I'm going to just kind of half press my shutter button to get back to the screen. Now here's where the big difference lies between your time-lapse movie and your time-lapse photo, I guess, your photo time-lapse. With the movie time-lapse, with this movie setting, you cannot reduce your shutter speed under 1/30th of a second. And the reason that that's significant is, like I said, with the photo mode, I use that ND filter to drop down to a slow shutter speed and soften up the water and the clouds a little bit. I don't have that option here. I cannot go any lower. You can see that I'm rotating that shutter speed dial and nothing's happening. So the approach here is going to be more of the photos are going to be more of a static shot each time, and I'm going to end up with a little bit more frozen images, or just completely frozen images, really. So in this case, I'm going to leave my f-stop at 11. That's what I had it for the other one. But now I'm going to compensate for the lack of ND filter by adjusting my shutter speed. So 1/125th looks about right. And then you'll see that I have ISO auto on again. Reason being is, again, you want to be able to adjust for darker or lighter conditions. And what I'm actually going to do to leave that, the ability to adjust for the brightness and darkness, is set my shutter speed so at this current condition I'm shooting at ISO 200. See that in the bottom right. So it's bumping your ISO up a little bit, but this is going to give you the ability to compensate for the brighter sun that may come out later. So now that I've got all that set, it's going to be an easy push of the record button. And you'll see this says LCD off on. It's going to turn off in just a second. And then it's recording. And then your LCD up here is now counting down from that 2,000 shots that I set it for. So it'll go all the way down, and when it gets to 0, it basically compiles that as a video, and you have a video file right on your memory card. This is great. And you can stop at any time throughout, so I probably won't do a full 2,000 shots. But the difference lies in the final product. So if you look at the difference between a 1,000 shot time-lapse on the time-lapse video mode, and then a roughly same length time-lapse with photo mode using an 8-second shutter speed, there's a big difference in image quality. The 8-second is going to have it's a nice soft feel. It looks smooth. It looks like it's kind of flowing, whereas the time-lapse movie is going to be very frozen. It's going to be obvious that it's more of a picture-by-picture or frame-by-frame rather than this kind of smooth feeling thing. Neither one's bad, but I like having the ability to use both, and I like having the time-lapse photo option for more of the advanced kind of shoots that you would do. So if you have a 77D, and I think all the models above that have both the time-lapse movie and the interval shooting for the photography function. But if you have something below that, like the T7i, T6i, they only have a time-lapse movie mode. They don't have an interval shooting mode. You could still do interval shooting, but you would need an external remote to be able to set that timer to click every 3 seconds or whatever. So I hope that was helpful. The final products, I think they're both great things. They're both useful in their own way. It's really nice to have that time-lapse movie mode and be able to shoot just a quick, simple thing and have a video on your memory card ready to go into a greater movie. And then I also think it's great to have the option to shoot those frame-by-frame photo time-lapses and get just the effect you want. Another consideration with the photo time-lapses is because they are all 24 megapixel files. You can crop that in a lot. You can use that to get a much better quality finished product. Even if you shoot the same shutter speed, the same exact settings as you would for the time-lapse movie, it'll look better in the end because you get so much more data. Again, I hope this is helpful. Let me know if you have any questions below. Thanks for watching.
So as we look at these side by side, you'll notice that the 8-second exposure photo time-lapse is very smooth and stretched out, whereas the 1/200th of a second video is very rigid and frozen. And then as we zoom in on each one, you'll notice that the resolution holds up much better with the photo time-lapse because this is a 24 megapixel photo sized down to 4K rather than a 1080p video assembled automatically. So more dynamic range, more resolution, more sharpness, and all that. And here's each final product just side by side after some color correction.